Where and when was the first bike lane built? Maybe this is the question you've asked yourself and thought there should be a straightforward answer. Here are some of the facts about the first city in which the first bike lane was built. Imagine a time when streets buzzed not with honking horns, but with the soothing whir of bicycle wheels. Then, the industrial roar of cars took over, transforming cities forever. But as traffic jams grew unbearable, the bicycle staged a quiet comeback, demanding its rightful place on the asphalt. This is the story of the first urban bike lanes, or rather, the mystery of where they truly began. The bicycle's journey began in 1817, when Karl von Drais, a German inventor, created the Draisine, a precursor to the modern bike. This two-wheeled contraption revolutionized personal transport, offering an alternative to horse-drawn carriages. By the late 19th century, with innovations like the pedal-powered Boneshaker and later the Penny Farthing, bicycles became a staple of urban mobility. At the same time, industrial revolutions across Europe and the United States were reshaping cities. Factories boomed, and the need for faster, mechanized transport spurred the invention of the automobile. In 1886, Carl Benz introduced the world's first motorcar. By the 1920s, Henry Ford's assembly line had made cars affordable, flooding cities with motorized traffic. The automobile wasn't just a vehicle, it was a status symbol, a marker of modernity. As cars became ubiquitous, bicycles were pushed to the margins. In America and Europe, streets were redesigned to prioritize automobiles. By the mid-20th century, cities like Los Angeles epitomized car-centric planning, with sprawling freeways and scant attention to cyclists. Traffic congestion soared, but the love affair with cars persisted. In the wake of World War II, urban planners increasingly realized the cost of car dependency, clogged streets, smog-filled skies, and diminished quality of life. Cycling advocates began pushing back, arguing for dedicated spaces for bicycles in cities overwhelmed by automobiles. This resistance laid the foundation for the bike lanes we see today. The story of the first urban bike lane is far from straightforward. Multiple cities across the globe claim the title, each offering a compelling narrative. In the 1960s, Davis, California, a small university town, faced rising car traffic and growing concerns about cyclist safety. In 1967, the city implemented one of the first bike lanes in the United States, complete with dedicated paths separated from motorized traffic. Davis's efforts were groundbreaking, earning it the title of Bike Capital of America. Today, Davis boasts over 100 miles of bike paths, a testament to its early commitment to cycling infrastructure. Long before Davis, Copenhagen had begun experimenting with dedicated bike paths. By the 1920s, the Danish capital had created some of the earliest cycling lanes in Europe. These paths were rudimentary by today's standards, but they marked a significant shift in urban planning. Copenhagen's cycling culture only grew stronger over the decades, and today, over 62% of residents commute by bike. Surprisingly, some of the earliest bike lanes might date back to Victorian-era London. In the late 19th century, cycling clubs lobbied for smoother roads and safe spaces for their members. While these were not formal lanes, they laid the groundwork for later developments. By the early 20th century, London had begun experimenting with designated bike paths, though these efforts were overshadowed by the city's rapid motorization. In the 1970s, Amsterdam faced a crisis. Rising car traffic had led to a spike in road fatalities, including many children. Outrage sparked the Stop the Kindermoord, Stop the Child Murder movement, which pressured the government to prioritize cycling. By the end of the decade, Amsterdam had established a vast network of bike lanes, transforming it into a cyclist's paradise. While not the first bike lanes, Amsterdam's infrastructure became a model for cities worldwide. The question of the first bike lane is tricky. Davis, California, was undoubtedly a pioneer in the modern sense, with well-delineated paths and citywide planning. Yet Copenhagen and Amsterdam had laid the groundwork decades earlier, fostering a cycling culture that would later inspire global movements. In contrast, Victorian-era London reminds us that the concept of bike lanes isn't new, it's a rediscovery of older ideas adapted for modern cities. Each claim to the first bike lane reveals how different cities approached cycling at various points in history, reflecting their unique urban challenges. Regardless of where they began, early bike lanes sparked a revolution in urban planning. Today, cities like Berlin are experimenting with bicycle priority streets, while Bogotá's Ciclovia closes entire roads to cars on Sundays, allowing cyclists to take over. The early pioneers showed that cycling isn't just a mode of transport, it's a way to reclaim cities for people, not machines. The search for the first bike lane may never yield a definitive answer. But perhaps the debate misses the point. What matters isn't who came first, it's the collective shift toward making cities more livable, sustainable, and inclusive. From Davis's 1967 experiment to Copenhagen's cycling utopia, each city contributes a piece to the puzzle, proving that bikes belong in urban landscapes. Who knows? Maybe the next breakthrough in cycling infrastructure is happening right now, in a city yet to make headlines.